What is going on YouTube? Gabmus here and welcome to episode 23 of the Tech Pills weekly live stream. And thanks to the pandemic, my hair is now officially out of control. So let's say that was the first news of today. Let's jump to the actual first news of today. A victory against invasive anti-cheat. The nouveau anti-cheat will be removed from Doom Eternal in the next update. So let's just talk about the news in the first place. So last week we talked about how Doom Eternal basically screwed everyone by introducing a mandatory kernel level anti-cheat software called the nouveau anti-cheat to be able to play even the single player campaign, which doesn't make sense. Following the massive outcry generated by this bad move from them, from angry Reddit posts to YouTube videos talking about this issue and massive Steam review bombing, a couple of days ago, id Software announced that, through Reddit, in fact, that they will remove the nouveau anti-cheat from Doom Eternal, at least for now. So in the announcement they stated, quote, "Despite our best intentions, feedback from players has made it clear that we must reevaluate our approach to anti-cheat integration. With that, we will be removing the anti-cheat technology from the game in our next PC update. As we examine any further anti-cheat in Doom Eternal, at a minimum, we must consider giving campaign-only players the ability to play without anti-cheat software installed." So, I mean, this announcement is pretty self-explanatory by itself. I just wanted to add on top of that I'm incredibly happy to report that finally Doom Eternal will be playable again on Linux, and they will remove the new anti-cheat, and that's just so great, particularly for the ones of us that bought the game already and maybe are halfway through the campaign or are enjoying the game, and they suddenly saw the game introduce this anti-cheat and it basically broke for everyone on Linux. So being able to play this again on Linux is just great, and in my opinion this is a victory for consumers and for all kinds of gamers out there, from Linux gamers to Windows gamers to, again, any kind of gaming. This is just great. I am personally mostly interested in the campaign part of Doom, to be honest, but the online multiplayer is another big part of the game as well, also considering how bad Quake Champions currently is. And I even read somewhere that it's in maintenance mode after some after Saber Interactive, the company that's actually developing Quake Champions, screwed up something pretty bad. And so, I mean, multiplayer is not like the main focus, at least for me and other gamers out there, but of course it is still a big part of the game. And at this point, once they release this update, Doom Eternal will be playable, all modes of it on Linux, no problem. But the problem still remains for the future of this game, since, well, they will evaluate reintroducing anti-cheat in a less aggressive way at least, and with that could come the, I mean, with the reintroduction of the anti-cheat, we could be unable to play the multiplayer on Linux at least. So I just hope that they find a decent way to implement anti-cheat if they necessarily have to, and they do it in a way that doesn't screw up Linux players, or at least they give an option to be able to play without anti-cheat and be matchmaked with other players that are on the same choice. Anyway, I'm just really grateful that this awesome game is playable again on Linux. And I want to say thank you to id Software for reverting their decision, for listening to the user feedback, in hope that they will not repeat the same mistake again. And let's jump to the second news of today, and we're still talking about the nouveau anti-cheat. You thought this story was over. Nope, there's more. So, it's kind of related to the whole Doom Eternal problem that we've just talked about, but not completely. The Denuvo product owner mentioned in the GitHub issue about Doom Eternal on Proton's repository that, quote, the nouveau anti-cheat will have Proton support out of the box for releases beyond Doom Eternal, end quote. That's pretty unexpected, to be honest. I wasn't expecting anything like this, to be honest. I just was reading about the news about Doom Eternal removing the nouveau anti-cheat, and this just, I mean, was kind of a side story, and it was kind of shocking at first when I initially read it. And what they're trying to say here is that the nouveau anti-cheat, which is a kernel level driver for Windows, will be working on Proton and Linux. I don't know to which extent they think they can achieve this, and this is not an easy thing to do if they want to keep the nouveau anti-cheat in the state it's currently in. Because again, we're talking about a like a kernel module here for the Windows kernel, and as awesome as Wine is, it doesn't. It's not the anti-kernel. It's not the Windows kernel. So I don't know how they will achieve this. My best bet, like one possible hypothesis, is that they will detect whether the game is being run with Proton or not. Then either use a less aggressive anti-cheat check or disable anti-cheat completely. Honestly, I'm not sure what they will do here. I mean, probably there are easier ways on Linux to check if something that's not supposed to be like running with the game is actually running with the game compared to Windows. But I don't have really the technical skill to understand to which extent this is possible. Because let's try to understand what an anti-cheat software does. It tries to basically see everything that's attached to your running processes, and in particular to the process that's the particular game that you want to cheat on. Let's say you're a cheater, no? So what the anti-cheat system tries to do is it sees if the running executable has some libraries linked to it that are supposed to be there. And in fact, this is a very common way of cheating in online games, is loading like third-party software like cheat engines via something like DLL injection. So you basically inject a library and you piggyback on something like typically DirectX, the DirectX DLL, but also other libraries. So it checks if something is running inside the game that shouldn't be running in the game, and then if it detects something that's not like supposed to run in the game, it just locks you out. And as far as doing this on Linux, I am not sure how they can achieve something similar. To be fair, I'm not aware of any cheat engine for online games that works on Linux, but then again, I don't do this kind of thing, so I really don't know anything about this, so I'm just guessing, like just playing a guessing game here. Probably they can detect like shared libraries that are loaded inside an executable in Linux. Maybe it's easier to do this on Linux than on Windows. I'm not sure if that's all they do in the anti-cheat software, also because they are closed source and really only they know what the software is doing. So again, not sure. But then again, this is the product owner for the nouveau anti-cheat that said this. I don't know if they will actually go through with this. If they do, this will mean actually having lots more games running on Linux. All the games that use the nouveau anti-cheat could potentially be compatible with Proton, and that's just great. That means that many games that we've previously been unable to play on Linux should be, in theory, playable in the near future. I don't know. I think we just need to wait and see where this goes. At the end of the day, what could happen is that they just say that they tried and it's not possible, and maybe the person, like this product owner, doesn't fully know what he's talking about. I hope that's not the case, of course, but let's see where that goes. Alright, let's move on to the next news of today. Ubuntu has an unofficial Unity 7 remix. And, well, I mean, it's weird that the way some projects just refuse to go down. This is the case for the old Unity 7, the Ubuntu desktop of yore. Apparently, the extremely talented 10-year-old Rudra B. Saraswat, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, decided that this was a good idea, and in a good open source fashion, he decided to, well, just do it. You can currently find the latest ISO for this Ubuntu Unity 7 remix available for download in the Ubuntu Discourse forum. This respin mostly tries to offer like a stock Unity 7 experience, as close as possible to the old releases, but on top of the latest version of Ubuntu 2004. So you're still getting like the latest and greatest version of Ubuntu with the latest kernel, the latest patches, and the latest packages. I personally never liked Unity 7 myself that much. It was not half bad, but it wasn't also either. I mean, it wasn't a good desktop in my opinion. Well, at least it wasn't for me. And I mean, I was one of those people that liked GNOME 3 right from the very beginning. So maybe I am wrong here, but who knows? I mean, what I don't like about Unity 7 is the overall styling of it, like in the graphical positioning of elements and the way that the interface is styled by itself. But I also don't really like the technical side of it. And I mean, if you remember, Unity was based on Compiz, which is a compositor for Xorg, which was a dying project already when Ubuntu started working on it. And Canonical basically kept it up to date for most of Unity's lifespan. Still, despite how many people criticized it, and there were many people criticizing Unity 7, it's probably been the single most successful Linux desktop environment after the original GNOME 2. Because I mean, well, Ubuntu was and currently is the most popular distribution out there, and when Ubuntu came with Unity 7, that was the flagship Linux desktop, like the very definition of the Linux desktop, to the point that it became a synonym to the whole Linux desktop ecosystem as a whole, and that was always kind of funny. In a nutshell, people liked it, and people still like it and miss it. And if you're one of those people, you can download the Ubuntu Unity 7 respin right now and try it for yourself. Maybe even use it as a daily driver. I mean, the code base has been stable for a while now, and it's probably stable enough to allow you to use it again in your day-to-day life. There's just one small problem that I see with this, to be honest. Canonical is still maintaining Ubuntu 16.04, the latest LTS release to ship with Unity 7, and will be doing so up until 2021. That's why Unity is still usable to this day, because it's being maintained. But what happens when maintenance ceases? Will this project have any future? Well, there have been many attempts, or some attempts, to fork Unity 7 and keep maintaining it in the community, but to my knowledge, at least, none succeeded. They all kind of went away at some point. Probably it's because it's a very big project, and the fact that they also have to maintain Compass on top of the Unity desktop itself makes it more of a burden. And that's probably the reason why Unity 8 instead has been seeing quite a lot of development compared to Unity 7, to the point that now former Unity 8 is now called Lumiri. It's a whole new brand under the UbiPorts project, and it's been doing great. Unity 7, again, old technology, old code base, and will soon go unmaintained. So I don't really know what the future for this project will be. Still, I think that it's a very interesting one, and surely one that the community really appreciates. And for now, at least, you can go ahead, download this ISO, and enjoy this throwback Ubuntu Unity respin. All right, let's jump to the next news of today. And that's a new app I'm working on. It's called Notorious. It's a keyboard-centric notes app. I don't know if you've heard of this already. I've got featured in Ubuntu, but anyway, let's see what this is all about. I actually want to show you the website of the project, if I can manage to. Give me a sec. Hell, Pop Shell always interferes with my screen sharing. Let's try to do this. All right, there we go. So this is Notorious, keyboard-centric notes, and it's a very simple concept. It's actually derived from it's inspired from another similar project that I've seen for a notes app that's as simple and straightforward as it gets. As you see here, the interface is just very minimal. You just have a search bar, a list of results for your search bar. As you see here, you also get like the full list of notes that you have in your notes folder under the search bar, and it gets filtered if you type something on the search bar. And then once you open a note, you can just go ahead and write and type everything you want. It supports Markdown just for syntax highlighting. It's a plain text notes app by design to, let's say, keep it simple. I mean, it's often the case that you just have to write something real quick, and you don't want to open like a full-featured notes app. Many of us typically write these kind of things on paper, myself included, just because it's faster that way. With this, I'm trying to remove all of the overhead from a simple notes app. It doesn't have any synchronization. It just writes plain text files to a directory of your choosing, and that's it. Again, you have some Markdown syntax highlighting, but that's just for convenience. You don't have to use Markdown, and honestly, if you do use Markdown, you're probably like me. I use Markdown on paper even at this point. I know that's weird, but I find myself using like the Markdown syntax is very versatile if you have to write any kind of structured document, or if you have to give some structure to a plain text document. And with plain text, I also mean, of course, pen and paper. So having Markdown there is just a very convenient feature, in my opinion, something that I am using myself, and I wanted to give the option to other people to use this as well. One of the interesting things, of course, these has dark mode, and the screenshots that I'm showing here are actually mostly only dark mode, because I mean it just looks great. And I mean, light themes are visually very appealing, but in my opinion, they don't look so nice as dark themes do. I mean, yeah, you can see that the light variant of the interface is actually gorgeous to look at, but as you actually use light themes, particularly if you like to work in dark hours as well, you know that it's not very good, at least it's not perceived as very good for your eyes. It's tiring to look at a white screen all day long. So having a dark mode, for me, it's a must, and I just felt like including this screenshot. If you prefer a light mode, and there are cases where you might prefer a light mode, particularly if you like to use your laptop outside or your phone. Maybe if you want to use something like this on a phone, you can. Of course, if your phone runs Linux. And if you like to work on your laptop outside where there's bright sunlight, typically a light theme is easier to read. So of course, that's also an option. And one of the very interesting thing that I'm doing with this app is that it's all controllable with the keyboard. It's I mean, the workflow is focused on using the keyboard shortcuts to navigate it. And while I tried to do something that was similar to Vim initially, because I'm an avid Vim user, I felt like I mean, I wanted to use the GNOME style desktop shortcuts. So I just felt like using this simpler shortcut scheme. This is actually a screenshot from the shortcuts window that you can access in the app itself by pressing Control question mark or by using the menu. And as you see, it's a very simple and intuitive set of keyboard shortcuts. Once you get used to it, it comes natural and it's easier to use than Vim. Probably has an easier learning curve at least. And the whole concept, the whole rationale about this application is that you probably want to set a keyboard shortcut to open it. So let's say Control Alt and N for notes. And you just open it up. It starts, it focuses on the search bar. So let's say you have to add a to-do. You just write to-do, enter, and it goes to your to-do list. Let's say you have to write a new note. You have to dump your brain real quick and you write something like some very important thing. You press enter. It creates a note. If it doesn't find it in your notes directory, and you can just go ahead and type. You don't have to worry about saving. Every time you either switch a note or quit the app, the latest changes that you've made are automatically saved. And I'm thinking about implementing a timed autosave feature so that even if something like like you have a power outage or something, or your battery dies, it still has saved something. So I'm thinking about implementing something like that. I have to try to find an efficient way to do it without stressing too much the disk with useless writes. So let's see, that's actually something I'm thinking about. And you can find this app on FlutHub already. And this was probably the fastest app that I've submitted to FlutHub, probably because it's so simple. So if you already have Flatpak installed in your system, you just go ahead and do flatpak install org.gabimus.notorious, and you will have the app right away. I just wanted to mention something that I found out while developing this app, and this is one of the reasons why I like to do so many little apps like this. It's because I always find out more and more about GTK and Python and whatever I'm using to develop these things. I found a bug that's actually known in GTK Source View 4. And if you don't know, GTK Source View is the widget that actually allows you to write plain text and has support for syntax highlighting and other smart features that we programmers like to have in a text editor, like smart tabs, smart backspaces, and also completion, syntax highlighting, all that kind of stuff. And it just so happens that for certain languages, and for languages I mean languages that the text editor supports, like Markdown, CSS, whatever, GTK Source View actually supports many languages. For some languages, including Markdown and CSS, there's a very bad performance issue where you when you set the language for the GTK source buffer, which is the like little object that controls what's the content of the actual source view sorry, of the actual source view. When you set the language for that, it just takes like up to 1 second in my tests, and I have a very powerful machine to just run that function, to just run the set language function. That's really bad, and it took me a while to figure out that was the actual function that was problematic. And I actually also discovered the greatness of cProfile, which is a profiler for Python. So if you're a Python programmer and your apps are slow, or you suspect that there's a bottleneck or something that's eating up your performance, a particular function maybe, cProfile is a very nice tool to investigate these kind of issues. I tried to use sysprof, which is the GNOME provided system profiler, but that was kind of confusing, probably because it isn't all that well tailored towards Python. But anyway, cProfile, very useful program, and I found out about this bug. Apparently this bug doesn't happen in GTK source view 3, but I'm having some issues packaging GTK source view 3 for Flatpak. So at least for now, everything stays the same. I'm still using GTK source view 4, so when you open the app, just be aware that it will take like up to 1 second or 2 seconds, depending. It really does depend on your machine, because the bottleneck seems to be in the running of the regular expressions for the detection of the language. So it's a known issue. It's being worked on. For the time being, I'll be trying to find alternative solutions, possibly like if there are any experimental patches, I'll try to apply them and ship my GTK source view with those. Let's see where that goes. Definitely something very interesting that I've discovered, and this is not the first time that I find out about these kind of bugs and weird issues, and it's always, at least for me, it's always very interesting and intriguing. Anyway, guys, I think this is gonna wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like this video, please make sure to press the thumbs up button down there, and also remember to subscribe to my channel if you want more of this. Also remember to join the TechPills community at techpills.technology/community. We have a Telegram group, a Telegram channel, and a Discord server. You can find all the links at techpills.technology/community, or you can use one of the QR codes on my left. Alright guys, thank you again very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.